Hello, Edified Tribe. Welcome to Edified Minds podcast, where I discuss how to overcome issues that women face in their 20s, unlearning toxic social media influences, and discussing Black culture debacles. So today we have my very first guest. We have Auset Whatley. She's an amazing friend of mine. I've known her since the eighth grade. We went to Calf Middle School together. And she's laughing because she knows how it used to be. But
Um,
I know, girl, I know. But I just want to say that I chose Osset as my guest because she has been making moves. She has been shaking, and I've just seen Osset grow. And I mean, I'm just so proud of her trajectory. I love that she's doing multiple things that are not only fun, but require a lot of hard work and confidence. And that's exactly what I love to talk to you guys about is the importance of confidence, believing in God's journey that He has for you, and going off of faith. So I want everyone to say hello to Auset. Auset, how are you doing
Hi,
today?
I'm well, Kennedy, and thank you so much for such an edifying minds. Oh my gosh, such an edification, introduction to everyone. I really appreciate that. Like you said, we've known each other since the eighth grade, so here we are about to croak 30, and about to croak 30, and it has been a journey, like from kids to now womanhood. I never imagined my life, where it is today, um, being in the eighth grade and, real woman to real woman, woman to God to woman of God. This is amazing. So I really appreciate you for having me.
Of course. And you know what? I don't want to think about 30, okay? Because we're 27, 28. So you're talking about croaking. Ain't nobody croaking yet, okay? But my
Girl,
knees, my knees do need
my
help.
back and my hips.
I
You would
can't move
think,
the same. I can't.
Kennedy, I can't. Let me find some old videos of you moving. It's like, well, this how Kennedy used to move, and now
Oh!
this how she moves.
Look, I got stiffer. I can't. I'm not gonna do this with you, but
Okay, I'm done. I swear.
so you
Oh
know what?
man.
I want to kick it off Offset with like, who is Offset? Because like I said, I've known you for some time, and I just want the audience to know like, what's your background? How is your upbringing? And what do you think has led you to where you are today? I know that's pretty broad, but I just am kind of curious, like, did you always know that you were going to end up here from childhood? So tell us a bit about
Mhm.
that.
Wow. Where should I start? So I am number two out of nine. You will hear a lot of like the Whatleys in, the Grayson Snellville area. So I'm the second eldest out of, nine siblings. Grew up between Chicago, Georgia, Kentucky, and I had no idea that I was going to end up here. Growing up in Snellville, Georgia, Grayson, Georgia, um, and being one of nine, it was difficult. It was difficult. A lot of the times my mom, she was a single mom. I did have a stepfather at the time, but it was quite difficult. So, to pretty much answer your question in a nutshell, that I think I was going to end up here, being an actress, a model, a content creator? Absolutely not.
Mhm.
I actually envisioned my life prior to what I am now being some Boston CEO or a neurosurgeon. That was actually one of my childhood dreams. Are you familiar with who Ben Carson is? I mean, before he went off the Richter scale and like,
Yes. Yes.
okay, so he had a movie called Gifted Hands and a book that I read, and I was inspired by him being like the only doctor, black at that, being able to free Siamese twins off of one beating heart. I wanted to follow in his footsteps, go to John Hopkins, and all of that. And my life took a very swift turn. So, in high school, as you know, senior year, I was actually pregnant, graduated pregnant. Shortly after graduation in October, we graduated in May. Girl, it's been so long. We graduated in May. Um, and then in October, I ended up actually losing my son. And at that time, I was working full time and going to school, trying to get my prerequisites out of the way before the father of my child and I moved on to Florida to go to a different school. Because at that time, even though I wanted to go to John Hopkins, my life had changed. I gotten pregnant, and I was like, you know what? I have to think of a school where I could, afford childcare. I could bring the father of my child along. So it was just a lot at the time. And like I said, in October, I lost him. And then that is actually when my father and I reconnect, like my biological father, we connected, and he came down to the funeral and encouraged me to go off to the military.
Mm,
So yes, I know. And when I tell you it was like a roller coaster and like zigzag, it is just that. Like I thought I was gonna have a straight shot to John Hopkins or to become a neurosurgeon. Absolutely not. My
yeah.
father, he came down. He did what any father would do for their baby girl, and he spoke life into me. He's like, "Hey, I want you to get out of here. I want you to go to the military." And honestly, I looked at him like he was crazy. I was like, "Absolutely
Yeah.
not. Like
Yeah.
the military, no."
Yeah.
But there came a point in time with dealing with the grief of the loss of my child, dealing with family issues, and really just wanting more for myself. I had no other choice. I was like, you know what? Let me get out of Georgia. I know the world's much bigger than Grayson, Georgia.
Yes.
So I went off to the military, joined the Air Force, did 4 honorable years as a security forces officer. Out of all things, out of all jobs, I was a police officer. I know that's.
I I can't. And I just want to say, I really am sorry, to hear about the loss of your child. I did know that, and so I just want you to know that I think you are so strong, Offset,
Oh,
for continuing
thank
to
you.
push on. You know, that's not easy. And,
Mm-mm.
when you're talking about how you lost a son, but then you gained your father, and like he
Mm.
brought life back into you, I
Hmm.
think that's very symbolic. And I want to know, like, how was your mental state, during that time? Like, how are you mentally?
During the time that like I had lost my son and reconnected with my father.
Yes, like during that time, even being told to go to the military when, girl, I know you didn't abide by rules, so you go in the military. I'm like, what was your mental state?
Honestly, and this is probably going to sound like it's a cliche, not a cliche topic, but a taboo topic. But when you lose like the flesh of your flesh, like as a mother, like, we're nurturers, I was very suicidal. I I was thinking like I have nothing else to live for. And it's like God knew exactly what I needed at that time, and I didn't know it was my father. And when he stepped in and kind of like took over and led and guided me, I was like, I really needed that because there's no way that I would have been able to get through the loss of, my firstborn the way I did. Like, I'll just be honest. I was quite suicidal. The father of my child and I, we were actually engaged. I don't think many people know that, but we actually started feuding for some time. And of course, that was, I can't say natural, but it was warranted given what we were both going through. How I coped and how he coped were two totally separate ways. And I was like, look, life honestly has to go on. So it's like, I can't sit around in the house. And my coping mechanism, even to this day, even though it's not healthy, it was to work myself to sleep. I would work myself from the moment I woke up. I don't want to think about it. I'm going to work, going to work, going to work. Okay, going to bed. So that I didn't have to face it. But it wasn't until I actually went into the military, got married, and I'm all the way up in Montana. And if anybody knows where Montana is, God bless your soul.
That's not a place I want to go.
It's absolutely not.
Like,
No.
no shade to
um,
Montana. If you're from Montana listening, I'm so sorry, but don't want to end up there. It's just a whole bunch of red rocks around me and spider webs and scorpions.
it's
That's all I see.
beautiful. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. Don't get me wrong, but it's not for me. And it really hit me because I was so far gone and so far removed from like pushing off and not actually dealing with the loss of my child. Um, when I got joined the military, went up to Montana, I ended up getting married. And so, and it wasn't to the father of my child. I had a whole marriage and
I never knew you were married, Auset. Like right
what?
now, I'm gonna scream so hard, but I'm like, I did not know you were ever married. So
Oh,
what the heck?
really? Yes, it was. And then I got pregnant again and had a miscarriage. And
Mm,
I had to, thankfully, I was in the military and, healthcare was kind of free for us. So I had to go into therapy at this point because
mm,
I was what they considered like a high functioning depressed person because I hadn't grieved. They're like, you can function, but you're like very clinically like depressed, ma'am. And I was like, oh, damn,
yeah,
okay. But my mindset at that time, before joining the military and losing my son, it was down the tubes, Kennedy. It was down the tubes. Like, I
yeah,
wouldn't wish that on like my worst enemy. And
mm,
then going through a miscarriage, it was very, very brutal. So I was like, dang,
yeah.
like how am I
It's
supposed to
like,
keep going? Like,
yeah,
and
yeah,
that's all I ever wanted. So it was
yeah.
tough, but it's nothing but God's grace that literally that got me through that because if one day I'll share this story, but how I found out my son passed away, it literally was something in a movie, Kennedy. Like from the way the clouds parted, me seeing the
Mm,
ambulance, looking out the window, I was like, where are they going? Oh, they're going to my house. And I was like, I get a phone call, hey, stay at work. I'm like, and I felt it like in my stomach. I was like, hey, where's my baby? They're like, hey, just stay there. I said, no, 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 no. Y'all about to tell me like what's going on. So it was just so riveting and so like vivid for me to imagine at that time.
yeah,
But it
yeah.
was tough. It was very, very tough.
I can only imagine, and it's like, I think a lot of us, when we go through things like that, we do work ourselves to death because it allows us to not have to sit there and think about it. So
Hmm.
we want distractions. And I think the complicated part about distractions is that while you're not thinking about it in that moment, when that distraction's no longer there, you think about it again. And now you're constantly thinking about it, but there's no
Hmm.
healing involved. And so when you talk about therapy, I love that you said you went to therapy. And as I can see, I'm sure therapy has helped. And I think therapy is like it's never going to stop. There's always going to be
Hmm.
new things we can go to therapy about. But I love that you went to therapy because I believe that therapy for you has helped. I talk a lot about like dreams and where I
Hmm.
want to be and where I aspire to be. But then, of course, in therapy, you have to like tackle things of the past because it kind of makes sense why we do the things we do or some of our
Yeah.
beliefs where they come from.
Hmm.
So, would you say that was an experience that made you say that you were going to start living your dream, just like having all these situations happen? Did that kind of make you say, you know what, I'm going to start living for me?
You know, I think I was a little bit different. I didn't say that I was going to live my dreams until after I got out of the military. I was med boarded, so I didn't really have much of a plan because my plan was retire in the military. But I knew that I didn't want to work in service industry for the rest of my life and be in customer service. So for me, it was like actually it was similar to that, a childhood dream. I've always looked up to, Raven Simone, Kyla Pratt, and those TV shows growing up, and I wanted to be like them. And when I was younger in like middle school, like sixth grade, I had my first taste of the stage and in Discover Mills Mall for model productions. And I always held on to that, but I never got to actually pursue it because it required money. My mother and I, we didn't have much of that. So it was a childhood dream for mine. And that was the perfect opportunity for me to actually take that up was after I got out.
Yeah. And I was, you know what? That's so funny. I used to be in Discover Mills and I used to walk by that like
The
model like
stage.
runway and stuff. And yes, I would get Auntie Anne's and I would see the stage. So
Yes,
if I ever saw you up there, yes. I had Auntie Anne's the other day actually. It was so good. But that's awesome. I mean, I did not even know that you were doing that. And I think it's so cool that people can be around us, but we never know what they really aspire to be. So
Mm,
I know pretty much you're pretty much saying that while you kind of dabbled in that, you weren't really thinking that that was what you were going to do originally, huh?
yeah, absolutely not. And the only person who knew where I was coming from, do you remember Courtney? She and her
Yes.
mother, they actually watched my little performance with my mother. We did Diary of My Black Woman. And
Okay.
yeah, it was not something that I had ever imagined that I was going to ever have the opportunity to go back to and actually try. And I was like, you know what? Why not? At this age and I don't have any other obligations. What do I have to lose, you know? So
Yeah. Yeah.
certainly it's like a dream for me.
And you're not just modeling though, like you're an actress as well, you're a content creator. So like out of all three, which requires you to do the most thinking and critiquing and work? Because like you're not just one thing, you're like a
Mm,
chameleon.
a chameleon. I would say content creating, but it's tough. I'd have to say maybe modeling
Mm,
because in acting you have to live in truth and be very vulnerable to like who you are playing. In modeling, you have to sell something. You're like a silent actress. And I have to be like very critical on like my angles, my lighting, who I have doing my makeup, my not the refrigerator. Every I have to be very critical and think about the teams that I work with or I put together are on their A game. So I would say modeling. I would say modeling has requires the most.
yeah. And I mean, the modeling industry, I thought that it was mostly based in like New York,
Hmm.
definitely LA.
Hmm.
And you recently moved from Texas to LA.
I
So it's
did.
very clear that you want to really get out there. You want to live your dream. And so when I think of big cities, as far as that industry goes, it's definitely LA or New York. But how has
Hmm.
the transition been? You go from Georgia to Kentucky, Texas, things like that. Now you're in freaking LA. Like, how is that?
The transition, I I can't even put into words how for me it was easy, but it wasn't. It was easy for me to pack up my bags and embark upon this new adventure. I'm like, yeah, I'm leaving. Like, I don't care about anything else. Like, I want to go to LA, so I'm going to go to LA. But actually being here in the trenches or like doing it, it's a lot harder than it looks. And I don't want people to misinterpret that, like, even though it looks good on social media, I do my best to keep it as real and authentic with my viewers, especially on my stories. Like, hey, I don't know how they're doing this, but this is where I'm at. This is how I'm going to get to that point. So it's been difficult. It's been very, very difficult.
And I think a lot of people just like to hone in on the glamour part of that. But here we talk a lot about faith. So, how has the move tested your faith? And what are some methods that you've done to keep the faith going when, like, a gig doesn't pull through? Or, maybe the content creating is getting like iffy. The algorithm is like my worst enemy sometimes.
Yes,
So,
girl.
how does it go with the faith? How are we continuing to incorporate God on this journey?
Hmm. That's a great question. As I had shared before, I've already been through what I felt like hell and high waters. So there's nothing that I can do that's going to waver me now. Like I had my faith, before coming here, after, getting through like losing my child and everything, my
Mhm.
marriage. And although the test never stopped, I always knew and know who's in charge of my life and how I'm able to continue going forward, like point blank period. Um, whether it be, people asking me to do immorally bad things or to post stuff. I'm like, do you see any of this like on my page? Like, absolutely not. So, a lot of things that I like to do personally that strengthen my relationship with God, but also help me keep my head on a swivel because this industry, like, let's just say it's very secular. So, I'm playing in a playground here. but I always wake up, read my devotional, and have the Word of God on my mind during the beginning of the day, because what you do in the morning, just like breakfast, it sets the tone for the rest of the day. And I do my best to spend at least 15 to 20 minutes, because between my day job and then, my regular bookings, it can become crazy. And if I don't have some type of structure or order, I'm going to crumble very, very quickly. And then
Mm.
I end my day, no matter how long it is, I always end my day with giving back and, telling God, like, thank you for this opportunity. I know it looks hard, and I know that, you're building me and you're molding me. But I just thank you for the strength, and just ask for that all over again. And yeah, being in my word, my devotional, and really surrounding yourself with like-minded people is going to help you a lot, because you can't do this alone, like, at all.
Yeah, we definitely need community. And
Mm.
this season, I'm going through a pruning season. I don't know. Do you know what pruning seasons are?
Pruning, yes, ma'am, I do.
Girl, I am being pruned. And when I tell you so many things have been just taken from me, I realized that while I was just turning up having such a good time, I forgot about God. Like, I was not praying, I was not
Mhm.
going to church. And so I love how you said waking up in the morning. I personally do Bible plans in the morning. And I do, that 15, 20, maybe sometimes 30 if I'm deep in it. And because sometimes, you just be crying, like, Lord, I
Oh,
need you.
yes.
You, you start talking in tongues. La, la, la. You just start just going,
Kennedy, don't you start, don't you start.
but I love how you said that though, because you're right. It's like when you start off in the morning talking to him, you already set the tone for your day. And so even when the enemy tries to throw you off, you got a little photographer who's telling you, bend that thing over. And you're like, I'm not bending this thing over. I prayed
Excuse me?
earlier today.
If you what? Have you lost it?
you know? And that's my next question though. Is there pressure to be perfect? And has there been things like cosmetic surgery conversations and just that pressure to nose job, da da da? I feel like it goes against what God tells us, like we're perfectly made. So, how's the pressure in that industry that you're in?
It is exactly what you and everyone else would think. Although we are moving to a more inclusive and diverse modeling industry specifically, we still have a very long way to go. Like, even when I was doing like my first runway show back in Texas, when I was getting tape measure for my hips, they said your hips are too wide. But yet, I know, and I'm like this. And they're like, no, but we want black, we want Latina. I was like, no, you guys want black and Latina, but you don't want the curves that go along with them.
Whew.
So you guys want a
Look,
face for it, but you don't want the curves in our actual body.
talk
So
about
there
it.
is, and LA is like the image of image. Like, everyone either looks the same, or there is an image that you have to keep up. That's just the lay of the land. And I already knew that coming out here. But one thing that I do, like I said, I feed my spirit and I feed myself, affirmations and the word, knowing that I am fearfully and wonderfully made. It doesn't matter. Like, it's like, okay, I might have like a slight imperfection or insecurity that I might do for the sake of myself, because I want to do it, not because of the pressure of, oh, I don't like the way your eyeballs are spaced apart, or like how your hips look. It's like, well, I didn't ask you. Like, we won't be working together. That's fine. Like, me personally, I was like, I want a nose job. I think my nose is like too pointy. I know.
I
But
love
I've
your
always,
nose.
I hate it. But I've always, even before moving out here, like, I wanted a little nose job. But now it's just like there is a pressure, because I will see my competition, and I will always know, because everyone is cookie cutter. I'm like, okay, that's why I didn't get the job. It hurts, but I'm just like, this isn't life. It's okay that I didn't get the job, but I'm like, oh, I'm not conforming to this world for the sake of an image. I'm just here to spread God's word and use my platform to do that. That's it. So,
Girl, I love that. For one, I love your nose, okay? And
oh,
I
thank you.
I've had my fair share of plastic surgery, breast
Mhm.
reduction, lipo, and it definitely is pressure. I know social media has a lot of
Mhm.
people who look picture perfect. But I'm starting to see a shift, just like you said. Like it just seems like people want you to be more authentic. And I don't know, it's kind of weird because it's like people will pretend like they're authentic. Like, you know, them girls who get BBLs, but then they're like, they're gym gurus, and it's like, you got surgery first. You know what I mean? So,
Hot girl.
you
I
know,
look.
right. We have to kind of like pay attention to when people kind of teeter the lines, you know what I'm saying? But
Mm-hmm.
I love
Mm-hmm.
how you are staying true to yourself because it is so easy to give in to, like you said, the world and the world standards. And girl, the thing is, it changes every day. Like,
Girl, every
years
day.
ago, being a twig, you know the model Twiggy,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
that was a thing. Then you went to like, Marilyn Monroe's body shape and stuff. It's always going to change. And so that's why I feel like we don't need to try to kill ourselves trying to change when
Exactly.
we don't know what the new fad is going to be, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to black representation, this can apply to modeling, acting, what's your opinion on black representation in film and the beauty industry? I'm sick and tired of just seeing the same black actors and actresses getting rotated around. I know there's more out there.
Rotated is crazy. What is this, a blunt? I
Let-
am weak.
Let's keep it real. We see this
Yeah.
Regina Hall, Gabrielle Union, Kevin Hart. We see the same people, and
Hmm.
there's so many more of you guys out there. So, what changes would you make to that industry?
Man. First and foremost, let me say they are all very well respected and super talented individuals. Like I look up, to Regina King, Regina Hall, all of them, really good people. But like you said, the representation is not always inclusive,
Mhm.
and because of that, it can be a little difficult when trying to make your own way, and it will take you a little bit longer versus someone who decides to conform quicker or immediately. Like if I were to conform and do things that they wanted me to do, like the industry, girl, you'd see me plastered everywhere, but because I don't, it's just like, oh, well, I don't know if you're good enough yet. So I'm like, okay, that's totally fine. But I know that my time is coming when God says I'm ready. And I need to be ready to receive that. Like there's still like a lot of things that I need to learn how to deal with people. Cause I'll go upside somebody's head in a quick, like in a heartbeat. But I can't do that, once I become like this platform and everything. So it's like, I'm okay taking my time. But that is one of the things that I would love to change about like our industry is having a little bit more inclusivity with our people because we come in all shades and it's like I don't want just the light brights. I don't want you know um the darkest chocolate beautiful female. Like I want everybody
Yeah.
because we're all very talented and it's like why is light skinned Jody always getting these roles? Why like what did she do? Like
Yeah.
Tiffany's much better than her. So there's a lot of change that needs to happen and I'm standing 10 toes down on that girl. So
And this is a yellow girl telling us that she wants to
hmm
see a lot of different shades. So y'all, don't you ever come
yes.
from the yellows because let me tell you,
Hmm.
I tend to see, especially on social media, that people love to talk about light skin privilege, and there's such thing as dark skin privilege in certain spaces, all types of different privilege.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I definitely agree with you. We need more representation. And that kind of made me think of like America's Next Top Model. So, speaking of representation,
Hmm.
inclusiveness, Tara always talked about, for some reason, Naomi did not like her, Naomi Campbell,
Hmm.
because she was liking that she was that Black woman on the block and that Black model that everybody went
Hmm.
to. What advice would you give to the new girl on the block in any of these industries who just cannot handle another girl's energy? Like, it just seemed like Tara was letting Naomi affect her at first. So, what advice would you give to a girl who's experiencing that?
Bop her upside the head. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
That's the old Auset. That's her.
No, but in all seriousness, what this industry is not for the weak, and I want to be very clear about that. You have to have thick skin because there's always going to be someone who doesn't like your look, your image, how you speak, the way you dress. There's always going to be something because you're in the public's eye. You're not just alone. So you need everybody's approval. And so for the new girl on the block, because I've been there and I still low key am the new girl on the block in some spaces. So knowing who you are, and I don't mean feeding yourself, the fake affirmations every day, but I mean truly knowing who you are first as a woman, a beautiful woman, that needs to be so rooted and grounded in you that regardless of what project or campaign you're going for, you're not thrown off your rocker, honey. You don't get picked because Sally Mae got chosen. Okay, cool. She's beautiful. She deserved it. My time is coming. And you have to really believe that with your work ethic and what you have to offer, it's going to come, it's going to manifest to what God needs it to be. So literally when I say ignore the haters, you're always going to have a hater because you're in an industry of like public view. It's okay. Not everyone's going to like you. So surround yourself with other confident women who don't seek validation in the industry alone, because you'll get dragged down very quickly and you'll develop a very fake personality. So that would be my advice, other than bopping them upside the head. No, I'm joking, but that's
You said it twice, so I know you're not joking. You said it 2 times now. So,
no, I'm
but you
joking.
know, but you know what though? I love how you are speaking your truth, and what does speaking your truth mean to you? Because in these spaces that you're in, like you
Mhm.
said, it's easy for girls to conform, not want to talk back, but just to do what they know is going to get them to the next level. You're a woman of faith. You know that God is the one providing these opportunities, not the directors and things of that nature. While they are, avenues and we appreciate them, if some of them want to use it for evil, it doesn't even matter because what the devil provided for evil, God turns into, he makes for good. So what does speaking your truth mean, especially in an industry that is just deemed so fake?
Speaking my truth. At first I thought it was just something that was just me. But truthfully speaking, it's whatever the word of God says. That is me speaking my truth. Now, I'm by no means am I perfect, because we're all on our different journeys and we're all going to fall, we're all going to stumble and get back up. But being truthful with who I am, knowing where I'm at and setting realistic expectations and goals for myself is speaking my truth and really sharing that with other people, because before I came forth about who I was in Christ, I had already been under the word for a good 5 to 6 years, but now I've become more and more bold about who I am. I don't know how, but I just have. And um, being truthful about who I am, that's something that always like I kind of like tucked away for the sake of keeping an image. But I'm like, no, everyone else wants to be truthful about who they are. Why can't I? So I'm going to do the same. And that's exactly what speaking my truth is, in all honesty. It's like, look, we can be different, but we can also be truthful with ourselves. Like we can have a conversation. If you're different, okay, that's fine. I still love you.
Yeah,
But being truthful and being with the word of God is definitely what speaking my truth is.
that is beautiful. That is so beautiful. And you know, I'm gonna just go ahead and take this time out to say thank you so much, Auset, for actually doing this interview. Like I said, you're the first interview, and I did it for a reason. I see you.
You.
I am so happy for you, and I just can only imagine how much trajectory you're going to have. If I see you on TV, when I see you on billboards, I'm just going to be like, I know her. I know her, and she actually loves me. So,
You
what
tell
can
them loud and proud, girl. You
oh,
tell them.
and I will. Uh, what can we look forward to seeing from Offset in like the fourth quarter or early next
Mm.
year? I know you kind of told me a little something you got going on, but I'm gonna
Mhm.
just give you the opportunity to say, is
Yeah.
there anything that's coming soon that we should be aware of?
Yes. So this fourth quarter is definitely finishing off strong with not only in my career, but in my personal life, finances, school, all of that. So I'm definitely finishing off strong. You can certainly expect to see me in a makeup campaign. It rhymes with Orphe, but I can't say the name. And certainly last but not least, I have a podcast with my father where we're going to be talking about, just conversations and taboo topics within our community that need to be addressed and really make a platform for fathers and daughters because fathers are so important. And I don't think enough value is placed on them in our society. But coming from a Gen X father and a millennial daughter, we definitely have opposing views. So bridging that gap between, parents and their child is something that you guys can certainly look forward to. And I can't wait to share with you guys because me and my dad, he's like my best friend and we keep it real. So guys can certainly look forward to the YouTube videos on me and my father. And yeah, finishing
That's
out strong this year.
awesome. I cannot wait to hear that podcast because, girl, when I tell you, I already know. I've never met your dad, but if your dad's like you, Lordy be, that's gonna be a great
Let me just
podcast.
tell you, like, he said, don't worry about it. I'm gonna have my baby mama as a special guest, aka my mother. I said, you will not. You will not. So if that gives you an inside look on what this podcast is gonna be like, girl,
Sounds like
he
my
is
dad. Is he bald?
yes.
All these bald headed dads, they be getting on my nerves, but you gotta love them. You gotta love them. You do.
But
So,
that's
you
my
guys,
that's my guy.
yes, yes. So, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Offset, can you tell people where they can follow you right now? Give them your social handles, website, all that good
Yeah,
stuff.
yes, please. So I am currently on Instagram and TikTok. And please follow my YouTube channel to keep up with, my daily life with my father. It's at Auset Whatley, just my first name and last name on both Instagram and TikTok. And on YouTube, it's Auset_Whatley. It's AUSET WHATLEY. So very simple and plain, me. So
All right, you guys. Well, you heard it. Make sure that you go follow Offset today, and make sure that you also subscribe to listen to more episodes of Edified Minds podcast. Next week, we're going to have a topic about focusing on the power that we have in our words, and I'm excited to dive deep into that. So, hope you guys have a great week. I'm going to go ahead and meal prep for the week. I
oh,
gotta go, and me and Offset, we gonna get up out of here. Bye,
see you
y'all.
guys. Bye.